This is an ABC podcast.
Hi, it's All in the Mind on RN. I'm Lynn Malcolm. And today, in this Science Week of 2020, a look into the lives of people who've had a spinal cord injury and how scientific research can bring them new hope. First, let's hear from the inspirational Sam Bloom. She's now a twice world champion parasurfer and well known on Instagram to the thousands of followers of the Penguin Bloom account, which tracks the story of how Sam and her family nurtured an injured magpie. Sam became paralysed in 2013 after an accident in Thailand.
Well, my husband and I have always loved travelling, and when we had our three boys, we thought, right, as they grow up, we'll hopefully show them the world. And so we took them to Thailand because we thought, it's pretty close, it's an easy country and the people are lovely. And so it was like, I think day 4 into our holiday, and we're staying at this really nice hotel just opposite the beach. It was pretty remote. And one of the kids said, let's go up on this rooftop. So we all went up the stairs and I leant on the railing and it broke. It had dry rot and I didn't realise, and it broke and I fell 6 metres and broke my back. That was the start of our holiday. I broke my back at T6, sort of in line with my chest. I also sustained quite a few other injuries, like I had subdural, extradural hematomas, fractured skull. One of my lungs collapsed because my chest filled with blood. Yeah, a few internal injuries, but obviously breaking my back was the most severe.
What's your first memory after the accident?
I was in theatre and I didn't even realise I was in theatre. I remember someone pulling my T-shirt up and cutting it off. I remember having central line put in my neck, and all I remember was that really, really hurt, and I was just gripping onto the sheet, and then I saw an oxygen mask come down onto my face. And that was my first memory.
And then you spent, I think, 7 months in hospital and rehab. What was your experience of that and your realisations about what had happened?
Well, not great. Yeah, so I was in hospital in Thailand for about 3 weeks, and it's funny, like the Thai people, they're so lovely, and none of the doctors actually told me that I was paralysed. One of the doctors, he was a neurosurgeon, he'd come down from Bangkok, and he said, you're suffering from spinal shock, it should be sort of okay in 6 weeks or so. So I was like, yeah, okay, I can handle that. And it wasn't until I was flown back to Australia and I was at North Shore. And on my second day, I went down for MRI, and that's when the doctor came up and essentially said that I'll never walk again. So I didn't handle that very well because I used to be incredibly active before my accident. Like I loved surfing and mountain biking and playing soccer. So, yeah, I was devastated.
And how did you emerge out of that dark place? How long did you stay in it, and how did you cope through that?
To be honest, I was in it for a very long time. I had to put on a bit of a brave face. The kids were only little and, they'd come in and, you don't want to be in tears the whole time. You have to kind of act not tough, but, saying it'll be okay. But no, I was so devastated. Geez, I don't know. I was in Royal North Shore for like 3 months. I ended up with a grade 4 pressure sore on my sacrum. So I was like, in bed pretty much the 3 months being turned side to side. Probably, I think the reality hit me was, for the first time was when I was at North Shore and I was due to go to rehab, and I remember they're like, okay, we have to get you up and get you in a wheelchair. And I was just like, oh my God, trying to sit up in bed and like lift your legs over to sort of move them, if you know what I mean, and then try and transfer into a wheelchair. Yeah, I do remember one of the nurses, she was so lovely, and she came up to me and she just goes, are you okay? And I just lost it. And when I was at rehab for 3 months. I can't say I loved it, but it was, I don't know, it was just good to be surrounded by other people who, have also, were in the same boat, if you know what I mean, because they get it. They get how devastating it is and how hard it is and the pain and all that. So I guess the big reality check was when I came home from hospital. And I came home and that's when it hit me that this is my life, and I didn't like it because we overlooked the beach and we overlooked one of my favourite surf spots of all time. And so I found that really hard. I'd sit in the kitchen and just look at the surf, and I'd just be so angry and sad that I couldn't get out there. I felt like I was under house arrest.
Sam is an ambassador for Spinal Cure Australia, one of several organisations doing cutting-edge scientific research to improve the quality of life for around 12,000 Australians living with spinal cord injury. And more from Sam Bloom later. Neuroscience Australia, or NEURA, has recently established the Spinal Cord Injury Research Centre with funding from Spinal Cure Australia. Associate Professor Sylvia Gustine from NEURA and the University of New South Wales is dedicated to this research. She explains the types of spinal cord injury.
So at the moment, we have two different types of spinal cord injury. One type is the complete spinal cord injury type, and that means that people can't feel and move below their level of injury. So, for example, they can't move and feel both legs. And an incomplete injury means they can partially feel below their level of injury. So this means they can partially feel their legs and partially move their legs.
And Sylvia Gustine is excited about a recent discovery by her team. Contrary to previous belief, many people who've lost complete feeling in parts of their body below the injury still have messages about touch going to the brain.
So we recently showed that 50% of people with a complete spinal cord injury still have surviving somatosensory nerve fibers at the level of the spine. In our study, we stimulated the big toe of people with a complete spinal cord injury while they were undergoing an MRI. And although our participants did not feel our touch, a significant signal was forwarded from the toe to the brain. Basically, the brain lit up and said, "Hello, toe." And this became the first objective evidence of incomplete spinal cord injury. The idea that many spinal cord injured people who cannot feel still have touch information forwarded from the periphery. So that means part of their body, for example, the big toe to the brain. So now the big question is here, why can't they feel the touch? Although the touch signal is being forwarded from the toe to the brain. This is very new information.
It was recently announced that Sylvia Gustine and her team will receive $2.5 million from New South Wales Health for their research project called Restore. It will investigate this new discovery.
Our Restore trial is based on this, and now we really would like to enhance this signal. And we believe that due to the severe spinal cord injury, the signal is so distorted that the brain can't identify it anymore as touch. So when we touch the toe and the signal gets forwarded to the brain lights up, but the brain can't identify it as touch. And therefore, a person with a complete injury can't feel it as touch.
James Stanley is a participant in Sylvia Gustine's spinal cord research. He acquired his injury while he was learning to ride a surfboard.
So I wanted to sort of learn to get up on the board and be able to stand up and surf. And shortly after being in the water, I experienced some bizarre pain that I've never felt before, which caused me to come off the board and sort of not sure why my legs just sort of gave way. I was getting sharp pains in my back. I didn't really understand it. I came out of the water, walking up the beach, I kept collapsing. I really had no idea what was going on at the time, just that I was in excruciating pain and just wanted it to go away.
James was taken to the hospital, and by the time he got there, he couldn't feel or move from the waist down. Eventually, he was diagnosed with a rare injury caused by hyperextension of the back. It's called surfer's myelopathy, one of only 10 cases in the world at the time.
There was just so much shock because you normally don't expect such a significant impact physically on your body from doing something so simple. they weren't sure whether I'd recover or how I'd recover because there were so little cases, and that I think 8 out of the 10 had some form of recovery. And unfortunately, I wasn't going to be the 10th out of that to recover. So I'm permanently paralysed as a T10 level. And yeah, I had to just work out what I was doing from there. I was a real estate agent and karate instructor, world champion, black belt. So my life was, just sort of completely flipped upside down. So I'm in a manual wheelchair, but I've got no use of my legs, like no movement or feeling. I get nerve pain. It's all different kinds of pain. It's like pins and needles, burning, aching, throbbing. I get it in my butt bones, in my toes. Some days are better than worse, but it's all over the place from the waist down in different spots.
So James Stanley, he was a research participant in our study in which we wanted to see if people with a complete injury, if still there is touch signal going from the toe to the brain. And he was one of the lucky ones where we could actually detect a signal in his brain. Also, he couldn't feel the touch. We actually knew that the touch information got forwarded from the toe to the brain. He can't feel the touch, but we know the touch signal is there. And it was amazing. Yeah, I think he was, when I told him, oh my God, it was very emotional because he always thought he has a complete injury. That means for him, he can never feel again.
So you were in the MRI scanner and they just touched your toe with a plastic fork?
Yeah, and I didn't feel it. But on the scanner that Sylvia was using, it showed the brain registered that my toe had been touched. So the signal was going down to say, yep, it's been touched, but it wasn't then reconnecting to, like, my conscious just sort of registered that had happened. So finding out that there's something going down there, it was awesome to find that out because I was like, wow, with research and progress, we can improve our knowledge and understanding of these injuries and bring more hope. But I was over the moon. I was like so excited because I thought, it gives me more hope. It's like, okay, I've got more to work with than nothing now.
James Stanley. You're with All in the Mind on RN. I'm Lynn Malcolm.